Well, welcome back, everybody. Stephen here from Northwest Small Batch Brewing. It is time for another brew talk in between brews here. And I don't know, I just felt like talking about this one. It's not really I guess you could call it a top, 5 or whatever. Advantages to using an all-in-one brewing system. Here, let me get a beer going here first. This is, I've never had this. This is from New Belgium, Voodoo Ranger Fruit Force Fruit Punch IPA. This could be a big mistake. 9.5%. Woo! I don't know why I should say like Imperial IPA, really. And it's a tall boy, too. Good thing wow. I wish you guys could smell this. Wow. Like the smell coming off of this is instant fruit punch. I mean, I guess that's why they call it that. It's a little hazy, but not like a hazy. Yeah, definitely fruit punch on the smell. Anyway, that's not what this video is about. So when I first started homebrewing back in around 94, I just brewed in a big pot on my roommate's stove, gas stove, and I had a giant 5-gallon, glass carboy and all that sort of jazz. And it was basically just, you're using extract brewing. There, might have been some partial mash, but, and the beer never turned out that good. Star Sand wasn't a thing. At least it wasn't a thing really in home brewing that I knew of. The homebrew stores around town were telling people to use, diluted bleach for sanitizing. And of course you could never get that flavor out, and that was not nice to have in your beer. And also it didn't sanitize that well, so you get a lot of infections. Anyway, we've come a long way. So we went from that to people doing kind of like 3-tier systems, Herms systems, where you're basically splitting up the different brewing processes. You might have a tank just for your, a pot just for hot water for sparging, like a hot liquor tank. You'd have your mash kettle. You have a separate kettle for maybe sparging. Anyway, it's all split up. You had to have a lot of equipment. It cost a lot of money because there's so much equipment involved. You had to have propane burners for heating it all and everything. And, it was a lot. So fast forward. That is bizarre. I mean, you can taste the fruit punch on this beer, but it just feels wrong. It feels wrong. That flavor in a beer doesn't feel right. And I cannot believe that they got that just from hops. I'm just looking to see if they say anything about it. They don't. I'm curious if anybody out there knows. Put it in the comments if you know anything about this Voodoo Ranger Fruit Force. But it doesn't seem like hops alone could get that flavor, and it just doesn't taste right to me. It's not that there's any off flavors. I don't mean it like that. I just mean the flavor. It's not balanced, for me anyway. Anyway, getting back to what I was talking about. Fast forward to COVID, right? COVID hits and everybody's stuck at home working. You can't go into the office and you can't leave your house, basically. And so people started wanting to do things, to pass the time. And so a lot of people took up baking, for example, baking breads and stuff like that. And in that same vein, a lot of people took up home brewing. And all of a sudden, all-in-one brewing systems exploded because people wanted something. Well, actually, I won't even say why. I'm going to go down a list of reasons why all-in-one systems, in my opinion, are a better option today than the old school 3-tier systems. That being said, I've always said this and I mean it. You can make the same quality beer no matter what system you use, even if it's a pot on the stove. It's just a matter of what works best for you, space-wise, time-wise, money-wise, but you can still make the same kind of good beer no matter what. The brewing system doesn't make the beer. You know what I'm saying? So you have kind of like 2 styles of all-in-one brewing systems. You have the I almost said anvil. That is one of them, but you have the urn style system, like the anvil, and then you have the modular system, which there are fewer of, I feel like. Modular systems are like the what I brew on, the Clawhammer system. I think Brew Tools makes one. Blickman makes one that's sort of modular, but it's sealed, I think, on the bottom, so it's kind of in between. Anyway, so those are the 2 kinds that you have. So what's the first? So number one, let's go down the list. Number one reason to advantage. The first advantage to having an all-in-one brewing system. They're small, relatively, and easy to store. All of mine, when I'm done brewing for the day or whatever, my entire clawhammer system can fit into the kettle itself and get put into the closet, and that's exactly what happens to it. I don't have a lot of space here, so that's where it goes, into the closet. Along with my fermenters and kegs and stuff. It's all in one little closet. So, small and easy to store. Number two, advantage to having or using or owning an all-in-one brewing system. They're inexpensive. They're cheap, right? I mean, if you compare them to the old school 3-tier systems, which will cost you thousands because you're buying so much equipment for that. Instead, you're basically combining that equipment into one system, so there's less material. You can get, if we want to talk about the low end of this, as far as saving money, you can get the mash and boil, which actually I have their first edition of it out in the garage wrapped up because I don't use it anymore. Not that it's necessarily bad. The only time I ever use it is when I want to do a really small batch, like a gallon or something like that of something. But those run somewhere around $350. And if you're really in a bind, you could get the Vivor all-in-one brewing system, which I think runs around $250 or so. And so realistically, it's never been cheaper, less expensive to get into homebrewing than it has been these days since COVID. The ease of it is number three, right? Your all-in-one advantage, number three. The ease of an all-in-one brewing system, right? They're fairly easy to use. You sort of a set it and forget it, kind of. I mean, not really, but you can set the temperature and it holds it. They're easier to clean because there's only one vessel to clean. In fact, I take my pot apart eventually. Yeah, I take all the parts out of it and I just throw it in the dishwasher. And the other benefit here from the ease standpoint is you don't have a lot of them, not all of them, but most of them, you don't have to sparge anymore. You can actually do a full volume mash and skip the whole sparging step. All right, number fourth advantage to an all-in-one brewing system. It's going to save you time, right? Over a 3-tier system. It's going to save you time with setup. It's going to save you time with heating stuff up, sparging. It's going to save you time with cleaning. You can't really change some aspects of how long it takes to brew, but a lot of it you can. So it will definitely save you some time. Number fifth reason it's an advantage to have an all-in-one system. You can do small batches. I kind of was just talking about that, but my system can do 5 gallons, but I generally do 3-gallon batches. And if you go even further, like I was saying, the mash and boil that's in my garage, I can actually do a 1-gallon batch in that. So that's nice that you can do much smaller batches. And number 6, we'll give you one more advantage to using an all-in-one system. How do I put this? So they're low priced, but higher quality. Generally speaking, I can't think of one that isn't made out of stainless steel. So you're getting a stainless steel, which is pretty good. In the brewing industry, that's kind of what you're looking for quality. And the parts can be replaced for most of them. If your pump dies, you can replace it. If tubing breaks or something, you could replace it. Some systems are easier than others, and some parts can and cannot be replaced. With the clawhammer system, pretty much every piece can be replaced because it's modular, right? But the point is, in my opinion, all these advantages beat out any other kind of brewing system for home brewing. So if you don't already have a system, I don't know, somebody tell me in the comments, why would you? I guess maybe it depends. If you want to make a really big batch of beer, right? If we're talking, you're going to be making like 10 gallons or more, then yeah, you're looking at something else, right? But if you're looking at making 5, maybe even 10 gallons, really 5 is kind of where we're at. I mean, then I think that the all-in-one systems kind of beat out everything else. Anyway, thanks for hanging out, and this is a weird beer. I'll be back in another week with another video of some sort, and until then, keep on brewing.